Am I the antagonist for cursing at my aunt's husband? I am a 16-year-old boy with 2 dads. I have 2 younger sisters, ages 13 and 11. Our Aunt Jay donated her eggs so that our parents could have us. We know that biologically she is our mother. We also know that a gestational carrier gave birth to us. However, I don't consider my aunt or the woman who gave birth to me as my mom. My aunt met her husband shortly after my youngest sister was born. She was honest with him about her role in helping our parents. He seemed to be okay with it at the time, but now that they have children together, he sees me as a convenient babysitter. Instead of approaching it that way, he keeps insisting that he and Aunt Jay are just as much my parents as my actual parents are. He also claims that their kids are my siblings, and that we should all be spending time together, including my sisters. This led to a fight between my dad's and Aunt Jay's husband. Aunt Jay told her husband that we are not her kids at all, but he repeatedly argued that we are. He believes that all the surrogacy and egg donation is wrong, unnatural, and harmful to children and families. He even went as far as saying that my dad is my uncle and not my actual father, insisting that we should acknowledge this fact. The tension escalated to the point where Aunt Jay apologized for her husband's behavior and promised to deal with him. They started going to marriage counseling, but things got worse during Thanksgiving when he apologized, yet tried to convince me to spend more time with my siblings and be at their house more often. I explained to him that I already spend a lot of time with my sisters, and that our family always does fun activities together. He kept insisting that he meant something else. I argued that no matter how he feels about my aunt being an egg donor, he cannot change our relationship. I told him that he has no say in my life and to leave me alone. I lost my temper and told him to go away in a very rude and disrespectful manner. My dad's intervened, and Aunt Jay yelled at her husband for cornering me. Eventually, my family left. Aunt Jay apologized for her husband's behavior, but he told me that I was incredibly rude and that cursing at him was the most disrespectful thing I could have done. My grandparents later mentioned that I could have handled the situation better, which is making me question myself. Am I the asshole? It is completely understandable that you feel the way you do about your family dynamics. You have a right to define your own relationships and identity. It seems like your aunt's husband is overstepping boundaries by trying to impose his beliefs on you and questioning your family structure. Additionally, his comments about your conception and your relationship with your mom were insensitive and hurtful. It's unfortunate that the situation escalated into an argument, but it's understandable given the circumstances. You stood up for yourself and defended your perspective. It's important that your aunt and her husband address their issues in marriage counseling and respect your feelings and autonomy as an individual. Am I the antagonist for not answering because I was sleeping? Parents called the police. After Thanksgiving break, I, a 25-year-old female, flew back home to Texas where I'm currently working temporarily. My family is located in Georgia. Since we spend holidays in Alabama, I had to drive back to Georgia in order to catch my flight back to Texas. Unfortunately, I almost missed my flight due to the heavy traffic caused by Thanksgiving and Sunday traffic. As a result, I arrived back in Texas quite late, making the day of travel and running around very stressful. Due to my exhaustion, I decided to stay the night at my male friend's house in Texas. He allows me to park my car at his place during my trips, and also drives me to and from the airport. I informed my family when I landed and let them know I arrived safely last night. However, I chose not to disclose the details about this guy to my family because he's not worth mentioning. Although we have dated before and have known each other for a few years. The next morning around 5 a.m., I woke up to inform my job that I would be taking the day off. Afterward, I went back to sleep. I turned off my alarms and put my phone on silent, so I missed several calls from my family between 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. My sister called me 25 times, while both of my parents called me 30 times each. They left numerous voicemails. Surprisingly, I even had voicemails from the Texas Police Department and my supervisor, who were trying to reach me through my parents. When I finally picked up the phone to see what all the fuss was about, my parents and sister were on the line, asking why I wasn't answering. They were concerned because the police stated that my car was not outside my apartment. I reassured them that I was safe and sleeping. However, my sister demanded that I send her a picture of my car parked outside my apartment to prove that I'm not somewhere I shouldn't be. Now, my family is not speaking to me because they were frightened and upset by my lack of response, as well as my failure to inform them that I was staying at this guy's house. I haven't heard from my parents or sister since this incident occurred yesterday morning. My sister is upset because I didn't inform anyone about knowing somebody in Texas. She believes that nobody sleeps as heavily or late as I do, and she thinks I should be more responsive to my phone. Additionally, my family has always been bothered by the fact that I typically sleep until 9 or 10 a.m., unless I have early commitments. They often tease me about it, despite the fact that I am a responsible person who has never been late or lost a job. I simply enjoy sleeping in on occasion. Am I the asshole for sleeping through their calls and for not informing them that I was taking the day off to sleep in? They kept expressing their concerns that something terrible may have happened to me, and they were under the impression that I didn't know anybody in Texas. My mother is giving me the silent treatment because I apparently failed to disclose my whereabouts beforehand. Do I not have the right to privacy in my own life without having to share every little detail at 25? You are an adult and are entitled to your privacy and to live your own life. You let your family know when you arrived safely at your destination, which was considerate of you. It is not necessary to disclose every little detail of your life to your parents, especially if it involves friends or relationships they may not approve of. Sleeping through phone calls is not a deliberate act of negligence, and it is unfair for your family to expect you to be constantly available to answer their calls. They overreacted by involving the police in your workplace. It is important for your family to trust your judgment and respect your boundaries as an adult. Am I the antagonist for refusing to explain myself to my brother's girlfriend? I used to have a difficult relationship with my brother, BG, because we had different dads, and our mom passed away when I was 14 and he was 6. Before he was born, I remember our mom being very attentive and involved. However, after his birth, she started treating him as her favorite, and I felt neglected and treated like an adult. As he grew older, I noticed that she favored him much more than she ever did with me, which made me feel jealous and resentful. When my brother started school, our mom would wake up early to prepare his lunch, something she never did for me. On the rare occasions that she did prepare something for me, it would usually just be a cheese sandwich, whereas she put a lot of effort into making sure his lunch stayed warm and packed it in a special way. Additionally, she would often take him out for special days and leave me behind. Or if I did go with them, she would scold me for not holding his hand when he wanted me to. She constantly emphasized that he was our world and implied that I needed to be a better brother. She believed he was more important and should always get what he wanted. My grandparents noticed this and tried to talk to her about it, but she disregarded their concerns. After my mom passed away, I decided to go live with my dad, whom I didn't know, instead of staying with my grandparents because they were going to take care of both me and my brother, and I wanted to distance myself from him. We lost touch for 15 years until they found me 3 years ago. I've gone through therapy to help me deal with my feelings, but it hasn't made me suddenly start loving my brother. Though our relationship isn't terrible either. However, being a father myself has made me more disgusted with my mom's behavior. Recently, my brother's girlfriend expressed her concern that I hadn't made up for the past and hadn't made enough effort to have a close relationship with my brother. She visited me unannounced and demanded an explanation for my behavior. I refused to explain myself, which angered her. She claimed that my brother adored me since he was a baby and couldn't understand why I resented or blamed him. She disregarded my own feelings and told me to disregard the hurt I experienced because I should have known better as a child. She left after I asked her to and proceeded to send me a series of angry texts, so I decided to block her. However, this encounter has made me pause and question my actions. So am I the asshole? You have gone through a difficult and complex family dynamic since your mother's passing. It is understandable that you felt resentment towards your brother due to the differential treatment you received from your mother. However, it is commendable that you went to therapy to work through those feelings and are now in a better place. It is not fair for your brother's girlfriend to demand that you make up for lost time and be close to your brother if you do not feel that way naturally. Relationships cannot be forced, and it is important for her to respect your boundaries. The fact that she showed up at your house unannounced and berated you is inappropriate and disrespectful. Blocking her after she continued to send texts is a reasonable response to protect your emotional well-being. Focus on your own healing and live your life in a way that feels authentic to you. Am I the antagonist for telling my family I'll wear what I want at my sister's wedding because I'm not in the bridal party? To sum up the situation, I am 29 years old and identify as a trans woman. I come from a Roman Catholic family with older parents, 71 and 67, and a sister who is 32 years old. Due to my life choices, my family and I are quite distant. I no longer practice their faith, while they are devout churchgoers who actively participate in church gatherings and events. They have not accepted my gender transition and still commonly use my previous name, a male name, despite me changing it almost 3 years ago. I visit them 3-4 times a year and occasionally exchange texts, but for the most part, we have minimal interaction, except during holidays. It's not uncommon for months to pass without any texts, and when we do communicate, it's usually limited to pleasantries. To provide context, I am treated as the family secret or black sheep. I started my transition in 2019, and my mother did not inform her extended family until the fall of 2022. Around 7 months ago, my sister announced her engagement. I only found out about it almost 2 weeks after she said yes, and I learned of it through my parents' social media post. No one bothered to inform me. She is having a Roman Catholic wedding, but because I am transgender, she deliberately excluded me from any involvement in the bridal party activities or wedding planning. I was not invited to the wedding shower, and I wasn't asked to participate in the ceremony. I was simply sent a save the date in the mail like any other regular wedding guest. I was explicitly told that I would not be part of the wedding party, and my partner was also not welcome. At this point, I am attending the wedding in an attempt to be polite. However, today my mother texted me less than 2 weeks before the wedding, asking if I could wear a navy pantsuit. I have no desire to wear a pantsuit, and realistically, there isn't enough time before the wedding to have an outfit custom fitted even if I agreed. I have no intention of wearing inappropriate clothing. I plan to dress like any other 30-something-year-old female guest would dress. However, my parents are becoming increasingly pushy and hostile, insisting that I conform to their specific clothing expectations, particularly something that would make me look like a man, such as a pantsuit or something with slacks. It is quite obvious that I present myself in a feminine manner. I've been transitioning for almost 5 years, so even in a pantsuit, I would still appear feminine. However, I understand that my parents want me to wear a suit because it is considered acceptable attire for a man. Given how my family made it abundantly clear that I will have minimal involvement in this wedding, I find it incredibly rude that they suddenly want a say in how I dress and present myself. If my family had included me in the bridal party, I would have complied without question. But since they didn't, I believe I am well within my rights, and my parents are going too far. So am I the asshole? Your family has consistently shown disregard for your identity and excluded you from important family events and gatherings. It is understandable that you feel hurt and angry about being excluded from your sister's wedding planning and bridal party activities because of your transgender identity. It is your right to dress and present yourself in a way that aligns with your gender identity, and your family's insistence on you wearing a pantsuit, which they perceive as a man's clothing, is disrespectful and transphobic. They are imposing their outdated and restrictive gender norms on you. You have already made an effort to maintain a polite and distant relationship with them, and attending the wedding is a testament to your willingness to be there for your sister, despite their mistreatment. As such, it is not fair for your parents to suddenly intervene and dictate how you should dress. It is important for you to prioritize your own comfort and authenticity at the wedding. Dressing in a way that makes you feel like yourself is crucial, as it allows you to present your identity confidently. Stand your ground and wear what feels right to you. Your parents' expectations and demands are unreasonable and unnecessary given their past behavior. It may be beneficial to have a heart-to-heart conversation with your sister and explain how hurtful her exclusion has been, as she may not fully understand the impact it has had on you. However, regardless of the outcome, remember that your worth and identity are valid, and you deserve respect and acceptance from your family.